Hi, everyone. We're just going to wait another couple of minutes to make sure everyone that wants to join is able to. So thanks for your patience. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining our webinar. This webinar will be about the Efficiency for Access Coalition's Research and Development Fund, and specifically our current funding call, which is focused on cooling. My name's Garrick, and I'm joined by Chris. We manage the fund on behalf of the Efficiency for Access Coalition. To begin with, I'd just like to do a bit of housekeeping. So just make sure you keep yourself muted during the presentation. At the end of the presentation, we'll have a Q&A session where you'll be able to unmute yourself and ask questions. If you have questions during the presentation, feel free to also type them into the comment question box. There'll also be a feedback survey at the end of the webinar, so please fill that in to provide us with some feedback. And lastly, this session is being recorded, and we'll be putting that up on the website after this webinar. So to begin with, I'll just go through what we'll be talking about. So we're going to talk about the background of the Efficiency for Access Coalition and the objectives of the coalition and the fund. We'll talk through the first call that we had, which opened at the end of last year, and we closed that out a few months ago. Then we'll be talking about the second call, which is focused on cooling. So we'll answer the question, why cooling? We'll go through the scope, the funding available, the R&D categories and project lengths allowable, the eligibility, the application process, the assessment process, the due diligence and award process. We'll talk about application assistance, intellectual property rights conditions, and we'll also go through key dates and then open it up for Q&A. So I should also mention that there may be a delay in between me speaking and you receiving the audio, just because of the locations that we're based in. So just keep that in mind. So just a bit about the coalition. So the coalition was launched in 2015 as a year-long call to action and collaborative effort led by Global Leap and Sustainable Energy for All. And in 2018, a number of leading governments, global financial institutions, and philanthropies came together under a scaled-up Efficiency for Access Coalition. So this is the current coalition. We have programs and initiatives spanning 3 continents, 44 countries, and 19 technologies. You can see the donor coalition indicated at the top. And then we also have an investor network, of organizations, funders that are interested in funding off-grid appliances. And we have program partners that we also work with. And the co-secretariat is made up of the Energy Saving Trust, which is the organization that Chris and I work for, and CLASP, which is a specialist energy efficiency organization. And so together, the co-secretariat manage the coalition and coordinate the members and the activities within it. So under the coalition, we have a program called the Low Energy Inclusive Appliances Program. It's basically the flagship program of the coalition, and it's funded by UK aid. And the program is a research and innovation program that aims to accelerate the availability, affordability, efficiency, and performance of a range of low energy inclusive appliances, particularly suited to developing country contexts. So the aim of the LAYER program is to help halve the cost and double the efficiency of a range of off-grid and weak grid appliances in least developed countries. So these appliances that we've identified include near to market technologies. So that includes televisions, fans, solar water pumps, and refrigerators. And it also includes horizon and enabling technologies. So we've identified a number of them, including brushless DC motors, connectivity and Internet of Things, advanced electric cooking, agricultural processing, interoperability, and advanced cooling. And under LAYER, we also have a number of ongoing activities. So we have 5 main areas of work. The first is the competitions, which includes the Global Lead competition, where we test appliances used in off-grid contexts and provide awards to the winners. We also have a E4A Student Design Challenge that will be coming out very soon. The next work stream that under the LAYER program is the testing and quality assurance work stream. So under that, we have a data platform that's just been launched called Equip, where we've tested something like 100 to 200 appliances sourced from different markets, over a dozen markets around the world. So that's different countries and different appliances from TVs, fans, refrigerators, and solar water pumps. We also have a communications work stream where we work on raising awareness of the importance of off-grid appliances and communicate findings and market research, market intelligence to the broader energy access space. We have a research work stream which we use to conduct research into different areas, so market opportunities and trends, appliance user preferences, and the impacts of appliances as well. And then we have a work stream which is focused on R&D grants, which is where this fund falls under, so the R&D fund. And under this fund, we hold funding calls focused on different areas and different technologies. So the first funding call that we had was an open call, and it was for projects that aim to accelerate the availability, affordability, efficiency, and performance of a range of low energy inclusive appliances that are particularly suited to developing country contexts and promote social inclusion. So it was open to any projects that met that criteria, any appliance types, and any areas in that under that description. So under that open call, we funded nine projects, and that totaled £1.05 million. And we also identified 6 cooking applications, appliances that we passed on to MEX, which is the UK's UK aid-funded Modern Energy Cooking Services program, and they funded £750,000 of R&D projects under that call. So in terms of the projects that we funded from the first call, we funded a wide range, as you can see there. So that includes refrigeration, cold chain, and IoT low-cost sensor projects, a motor project, agtech project, a fan project, an interoperable pay-as-you-go project, and an iron. And you can see the companies that we funded on the right there. And if you want to find out more information about these, we also have a section on our website, which is efficiencyforaccess.org/grants. So in terms of the locations of the projects, so these are where the projects are implemented around the world. So projects were often implemented in multiple locations. So they would have, say, an R&D office in the US, but doing implementation, field testing, and other activities in sub-Saharan Africa. So you can see there was a lot of activity in Kenya in particular, as well as Rwanda, and a lot of countries. A lot of work was also happening through the UK. So in this core that we've opened up, we're focusing on cooling. So the reason for this is that cooling is essential in achieving many of the Sustainable Development Goals, such as the SDGs for poverty and health. And it's a prerequisite for broader economic development, enabling farmers to access new markets, as well as reducing food loss and waste. And in an increasingly warmer climate, cooling provides much needed relief and helps to save lives. We currently have a communications campaign run by the Efficiency for Access Coalition, which we're running through Twitter and LinkedIn and other avenues. And the hashtag we're using there is efficiency for cooling. So feel free to look out for that. And now I'll pass you on to my colleague Chris, who will go through more in depth the cooling core and the requirements for it.
Thanks, Garrick. Hi, everyone. So yeah, I'm just going to talk through like what Garrick said and just provide a bit more detail for the application process as well. So the scoping of the cooling call is focused specifically on developing an innovative appliance technology or product for use in off and weak grid settings. There are 3 focus areas to this call, and they include fans, refrigeration, and cold chain. So for each focus area, we have identified a number of R&D priority areas, and these can be found in the guidance for applicants document on the R&D funding page. So for applications related to refrigeration technologies, we definitely highly recommend interested applicants to review the recently published refrigeration technology roadmap. This can be found on the Efficiency for Access website, and we've also provided a link to it in the guidance for applicant document. So grant funding is available from between £50,000 and £200,000 per R&D project, and under this call we are making at least £1 million available. Applicants are required to provide match funding. The level of match funding required to be provided by applicants depends on the size of your organisation. For example, if you're a microsized organisation, the match funding requirement is a minimum of 10%. Match funding may include in-kind contributions and financial contributions, and these are defined in further detail in the guidance for applicants document that can be accessed via the funding page on the EFRA website, Efficiency for Access website. Sorry. Project costs should also include costs related to the R&D work. So, for example, but applicants' budgets should not include marketing or legal costs. The stage of your R&D project determines the length of your project. The definition of each category is provided in greater detail in the guidance for applicants document, but I will just briefly run through each category. So the first category is the early stage for feasibility studies category. The primary focus of projects in this category are developing and demonstrating the concept for a technology, and to analyse and evaluate the potential of a technology, which supports the overall process of decision making. This stage is usually the first stage before conducting a subsequent larger project upon demonstration of a concept. The second stage is the second category is the mid stage for industrial research. Projects in this category are concentrated on developing a product or its component parts that lead to an overall improvement in an existing product. And the final category, the late stage for experimental development. R&D projects in this category will be focused on demonstrating, piloting, testing, and validating new or improved products in real-life operating conditions. The objective will be to make further technical improvements on products. So with regards to eligibility, organisations need to consider the following to be considered eligible. Firstly, organisation applying should be a legally registered and physically established business, academic organisation, non-profit or public sector organisation, or a research and technology organisation from anywhere in the world. Applicants may form partnerships. The lead partner will assume responsibility for the project and will be the recipient of the grant funding. At least 50% of the staff budget must be allocated to the lead partner. For example, staff costs allocated for all other partners and subcontractors must be less than 50% of the total staff costs. In addition, more than 50% of purchases for capital equipment and other costs must be made by the lead partner. Outcomes should be linked to both the program's overall objectives and the scope. Sufficient match funding for project costs can be demonstrated, and organisations applying should be compliant with fundamental in-country and international human rights, labour standards and environmental management laws, and not involved in any acts of terrorism or support terrorist activities. Organisations applying should allow for regular due diligence. Please contact us if you're unsure if your project meets eligibility requirements, and the email address can be found at the bottom of this slide, efragrants@est.org.uk. So before starting your application, please ensure you have read the full guidance for applicants document. If you have not already registered, then please register on the link in the slide. This is also accessible on the funding homepage by clicking the Register and Apply tab under Resources. Once registered, you will be able to access the portal in which you can start your application. The application form is made up of 5 sections. So the first section is the R&D project information. The second section is impacts and benefits. The third section, capacity and qualifications. The fourth section is project implementation and budget. And the fifth section is just the important information and signature. We expect you to complete each section of the application form. To be able to submit the application form, you have to do this. Please upload supporting evidence under the relevant questions. For example, under 1.4 and technical evidence, there are other opportunities to upload as well within the application form. Under section 4, project implementation and budget, applicants will be required to specify individual milestones within the project timeline that are key deliverables that will contribute to the overall project objective. For each milestone, you'll be required to detail the amount of grant funding requested, as well as the match funding for each milestone. The amount requested in the final milestone must be equal to or greater than 10% of the total grant request. For the final milestone, we ask grantees to submit a final report where grantees provide additional information for the overall project, as opposed to each individual milestone. Once the final report is approved, we will then pay grantees the final milestone. So once your application is submitted, we will then screen applications to ensure they meet the eligibility requirements as mentioned earlier. Assessment of applications are conducted by 2 E4A assessors and independent technical experts that are selected from an assessment panel. In the table on the slide, we have provided the assessment criteria that reviewers will review the applications based upon. When completing your application, please ensure that you have reviewed the assessment criteria, and this can be found within the guidance for applicants document. We'd also like to draw your attention to the assessment criteria number 3, where applications that have at least some part of their project in a UK priority country will receive additional points. For example, this could be a field trial or R&D in country, or some of the activities in the UK priority country. Once the panel has decided on the applications we'd like to fund, we will notify successful applicants of this, subject to due diligence. At this point, we will then go through a due diligence phase, and we may request further technical due diligence depending on the panel discussion, and we will request financial due diligence, as well as asking you to complete a due diligence and safeguarding questionnaire. Please note that we understand that some organisations may not be able to answer some due diligence questions, and should this be the case for your organisation, then please do not let this deter you from applying, as we may seek to mitigate these risks in other ways. Once we are satisfied with the due diligence provided, we will then confirm the awarding of the grant, and we will send the grant agreement to be signed by both parties. We will also include an M&E plan template in the grant agreement and hold a webinar with grantees to explain how to complete the M&E plan for your R&D project. With regards to reporting, for each milestone, you will be required to submit a milestone report, which can be found via the guidance for applicants document and an expenditure form, as well as supporting documentation. For the final milestone, you will be required to submit a milestone and final report, along with your usual expenditure form. In the final report, we ask you to reflect on the project as a whole with regards to achievements, outcome, and impacts, as well as next steps. We also ask you to evaluate the project, identifying what went well and not so well, as well as anything else you may do differently. So during the application process, the E4A Research and Development Fund team can provide some support. If you're looking for partner organisations with specific areas of expertise, and you haven't been able to find or identify an organisation that matches this, then please contact the team, and we may be able to matchmake you with another organisation. If you're a microsized organisation, which is defined in section 3 of the guidance for applicants document, or your organisation is based in UK priority country, as defined in section 6 of the same document, then the team is available to assist you in reviewing your draft application. It's important to note that we will provide a basic review, and the comments provided by the reviewer may differ from the ultimate judgment of the application assessors. Should either of these support mechanisms be relevant to your organisation, then you must contact us by the 26th of July 2019 to receive this support provision. So we'd just like to draw your attention to the intellectual property rights requirements that can be found in the grant agreement link in the guidance for applicants document. Grantees under this call will be required to adopt a standard approach by public funders such as DFID and UK Aid with regards to intellectual property rights. So the call opened on the 19th of July and will close at midnight BST on the 16th of August 2019. Any applications received after this point will not be eligible for review. By the end of September, successful applicants that pass the due diligence will be notified, and projects will begin by mid-October. And I'll just pass you over to Garrick now. Thank you.
Hey, thanks, Chris. So we're open for questions now. So please feel free to type in your questions, or if you want to be unmuted, you can also raise your raise your hand using the raise hand feature. So yeah, just please let us know if you have any questions. So one question that we've received before is about the UK aid priority countries, and we'll just bring your attention to them. So Chris, if you could go to the next slide. Yeah, so these are the countries which are the UK aid priority countries in which we provide additional scoring points should part of your project fall in one of these countries. And also we provide additional application assistance if your company is based in one of these countries. So I see that Vishal Singhal has raised his hand. Are we able to unmute? Let's see.
Yes.
Okay, Vishal, can you hear us? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. My question is about the IP rights. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So could you briefly talk about that? There was a bit of technical language I could not understand. But if you could just talk through it again, the IP rights.
Okay. Sure. So Chris, would you be able to go back a couple of slides to the IP slide? Okay, so the condition for intellectual property rights under this fund is that all intellectual property rights developed during and/or as a result of the funded project will be owned by the awardee. So you will own all the rights and not the funding parties. However, the funding parties will be granted a worldwide license to their project IP for reporting and administration of the fund. So
Yeah.
this is a requirement that's passed on by the UK government's Department for International Development. So this is basically a non-negotiable requirement. It's passed on directly from the UK government. And so they have no intention, we have no intention of using the intellectual property rights for commercial purposes. The clause within the agreement is only to protects the awardees from a competing product being developed from the IPR and closes the scope of the license to allow use of that IP as described in the grant agreement. So basically for reporting and administration. So yeah, the license is the only benefit to be taken from the agreement, and its use would predominantly be focused around the clause focused on publicity. So basically, this language, the agreement is actually included on our website in the guidance for applicants. So if you have a look at the guidance for applicants document, that has a section on intellectual property rights, and it also links to the grant agreement that we use. So you can have a look at that and the exact language that's used. I think that's, yeah, it's better to do that rather than me trying to explain it further. So, okay, does that answer your question, Vishal?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, great, thanks. So we have a question from Sridhar Rao, and he's asking, are microgrid innovations eligible for this program, which ensure efficient supply of electricity? So we're open to any innovations, any R&D in off-grid appliances to do with the scope. So Chris, if you could go back to the scope slide. So these are the areas that we're focused on. So mainly fans, refrigeration, and cold chain. And so that's for use in any off-grid application. So use in off-grid solar home systems, off-grid microgrids and mini grids, as well as weak grid settings. So if your R&D is focused in one of these focused areas, and it's for use in an off-grid or weak grid setting, including microgrids, then it is eligible for this fund. Yeah, let me know if that doesn't answer your question. The next question is from Timothy Lamek. He says, I'm in Mwanza, Tanzania, and interested to apply fund for Peltier cooling technology. I did not understand the conditions. If we need a supporting partner to cooperate with us in our project, this partner will help us from starting fund application, or will connect in after application successful. So you don't need a partner to apply, but we do encourage partnerships, and we do provide partnership assistance, facilitation assistance. So if you are looking for a partner, you can contact us and we can try and put you in touch with someone who you're looking for in the areas that you're interested in. Yeah, so I think that answers your question. So yeah, you don't need a partner to apply. One moment, sorry. Okay. Yeah, just let us know if you have any follow-up questions on that. And then we have another question from Luciana W.S. Ramos. And the question is, how do you see the participation of a micro company established last year and having only 3 members in this R&D grant program? Members have extensive experience and accomplishments proved through patents and technical articles, but at the end of the day, they are starting their new business. So we're open to startup companies, to micro companies that are recently established. You know, we will check the capacity of the applicants. We will review that. That's part of our scoring system. So it's important that there's capacity within the organization that will be considered. But I think you shouldn't be, you shouldn't be deterred from applying as a micro company with only 3 members. Chris, do you want to say anything further on that?
No, I don't think so. I think you've covered it well. I guess in that kind of scenario, it's important to provide as much experience about the team that will be implementing the project. If there's, if the company hasn't been in existence too long, that's the only thing I would touch on. Yeah,
thanks, Chris. And yeah, we do provide additional assistance for micro companies. We provide a lower match fund funding requirement. So maybe Chris, if you could go back to that slide.
Yeah, 1 second, sorry.
Yeah, so for micro organizations, we want to encourage these organizations to apply. So these can be startups, and we provide a lower match funding requirement. So only 10% or more match funding is required for micro organizations, because we're trying to encourage smaller organizations to also apply. And we also mentioned we provide application assistance to micro organizations in terms of the application review, and yeah, I think that's the main one, the application review assistance. So if you would like your application reviewed, to have a basic review prior to submitting it, we can provide that to you if you contact us before, I think it was 26th of July.
And just to add as well, just from a due diligence perspective, I think we touched on it earlier, but we appreciate obviously organisations that have not been established for that long, that they will not have kind of say financial statements, extensive financial statements, etc. And so we're willing to kind of to work with organisations to kind of be assured by the capacity within an organisation.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. So we don't have any other questions right now. If you do have a question, please feel free to raise your hand using the webinar feature, or to type it into the chat box. So one other question that we've been asked before. We have Sridhar. Did you unmute yourself?
Yeah, hi Chris and team. I just wanted to know whether smart microgrid companies which have innovated or which have innovative solutions in terms of delivering energy for all the equipments within the community, are they eligible for this program? If not, are there any other programs which we can apply for?
So can you tell us a bit more? Is it focused on cooling, this innovation, or is it just specifically for microgrids in general?
It is not specific for cooling. It is in general for all the equipments within the community, but majority of the loads would be the cold rooms and cold chains within the community and refrigeration.
Okay, so I guess if it is a technology that's focused specifically on cooling, that would be eligible for this program, but you would have to demonstrate that that is the case, and it's not just a general innovation that's to be used for all microgrids or mini grids. Yeah, I think you would just have to demonstrate that there's that link, that focus on cooling.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. So in terms of other programs as well, there's quite a few other programs available to get funding for off-grid innovation and off-grid business models and different areas of innovation. So I think the best way to find out about those types of grant programs is to have a look at the Gogla website. Gogla has a part of their website which is called Gogla Bridge, and they provide a lot of different descriptions or different pages of different funds and different programs where they provide grant funding. And there's quite a few listed there, so I would encourage you to have a look at that to see what other funds you could access as well.
Okay, got it.
Okay, thanks, Sridhar.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so we have a question from Luciana W.S. Ramos. What would be the support, if any, of E4A when the project is completed? When are the next phases, and how do you see the implementation of the project's results? Okay, so I guess that's two questions. So one would be, what would be the support of E4A for when the project's completed? So, Chris, would you be able to go back to the slide showing the coalition and the investor network? So we want to help our grantees as much as possible to scale up their innovations if they're successful in their projects. So we do have an investor network, and we will try to link you to the most appropriate fund that could help you scale up your projects and your innovations. In terms of other support, we do have a communications team, and we will be, providing reporting and kind of publicizing the project and the results of the project, and rating your profile in that way. Chris B or Chris J, do you want to say anything more about the support?
No, I think you've covered it well. I think, yeah, so just to recap, it's kind of, we can help on the partnership side, and then, yeah, help with the kind of global exposure. So we can promote your project through the communication platforms that we have, and the Efficiency for Access Coalition has a wide reach internationally. So we kind of by promoting you, by promoting companies through that platform, then obviously we're helping to increase the exposure of your project and organization as a result.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. So I guess the next question, or kind of the follow-on, is what are the next phases and how do you see the implementation of the project's results? So actually, I'm not sure if we've already answered that. Yeah, Luciana, if you have a follow-up, do you want to? You can also either unmute or you can type in the follow-up on that if that doesn't answer your question. Okay, great. So Luciana says that is clear. Sridhar, have you unmuted?
Yeah, I just have another question, Garrick and Chris.
Yeah.
After this session, just in case we need further clarification, is there a platform where we can put in our questions and seek clarifications?
So you can email us directly on e4agrants@est.org.uk, and I think Chris is bringing up the
Could you please repeat the email ID, please?
Yeah, so Chris is bringing up that email now. So at the bottom of this slide, you can see our email address. So please feel free, yeah, e4agrants@est.org.uk. So please feel free to email us if anything's not clear. We also have a frequently asked questions document, an FAQ, which is on our website, which is efficiencyforaccess.org/grants. So I'll just type that into the.
Okay, that's great, Chris, and thank you so much.
No worries. And we have another. Okay, I'll just. Yeah, thanks for unmuting or muting. Sorry, Sridhar. And we have another question from Luciana. Is this program only for near-to-market technologies? So the answer is no. We're open to near-to-market and horizon technologies. So yeah, if you're at an earlier stage or the technology is at an earlier stage, we welcome those applications. We want to support horizon technologies as well. And actually, we're kind of a bit more focused on horizon technologies rather than near-to-market technologies because they need more support. Yeah, does that? Okay, so Luciana says, great, many thanks again. Chris, did you want to add anything on that question?
No, I think that you covered it well, Garrick. Just on the refrigeration kind of focus area, I would just kind of re-emphasize the point that that the technology roadmap that was published last month, if any applications are being submitted in that focus area, then I would just yeah, emphasize reviewing and reading the technology roadmap in refrigeration before submitting.
Yeah, and I think you can find that on our website, the refrigeration roadmap that the Efficiency of Access Coalition developed. And I think it's linked from our guidance document as well. So
that's right, yeah.
Yeah, have a look in there. So are there any other last questions? Please feel free to unmute or raise your hand or type in a question if you have one. Okay, We have another question from Emily Gentilini. The question is, the grant is for off-grid or weak grid settings. What if it is an off-grid solution in an area that is connected to the grid, but where energy is very expensive from the grid? Okay, so in an off-grid solution in an area that is connected to the grid. So you're referring to an area where the grid is available, but there are many people that are not connected to the grid because of the expense of the energy. I think that's right. So that basically that we consider those applications as well, or those projects. So that comes under off-grid settings as well. So I know that's the case, in a lot of urban kind of slum areas in a lot of parts of the world, where a lot of people are off-grid in urban areas where there is grid, and that's part of the audience that we're looking to serve, or the beneficiaries rather. Did you want to add anything to that, Chris?
No, I think you covered it, Garrick.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so we're coming to the end of time, and I just want to make sure everyone has asked a question if they wanted to. So if you have any other questions, please let us know now. Otherwise, you can also contact us via the email that's shown on the screen, e4agrants@est.org.uk. Okay, and also just to let you know, this webinar was recorded and it will be put up on our website, so you can rewatch it if you need to. But yeah, it doesn't look like there's any more questions coming through, so I think we'll close off the webinar now. So thank you everyone for your attendance. Good luck with your applications, and we're here to help support you in them, so please feel free to contact us if you need any assistance. Yeah, thank you and have a good day, everyone.
Thanks.